You said the DAO isn't the company. The DAO is an instrument that's designed to direct the company. So what you mean by that, you actually need to incorporate the business entities as well, and you're using a DAO as like a meta layer to direct it? Or can you just talk a little bit about the way that you think about that legal structure and what's the right way to do it versus what's the wrong way to do it?
There's lots of different structures you can adopt, right? Like there obviously needs to be a company that pays employees in different parts of the world that build the game. That often exists and will exist before a DAO actually exists. Then the way they work together depends on how you structure the token, because usually the DAO is on the token side and is actually representing that entity. So it's all about the agreement that has been formed between the company that makes said products for the token issuing entity to have their token exist in some kind of ecosystem. And then like we can look to Web2 actually to look at the formations or the different formations for gaming DAOs. I'll name 3 games. So EVE Online, RuneScape, and Warframe. RuneScape takes this model of, okay, we do streams, we take your opinions in on those streams, we do polls, and if that poll gets more than 75%, we'll start a process off. That process could be implementation of a change based on the poll, or if it requires development, develop something and then have another poll, and if it gets 75% again, push that piece of content through. They feel tied to those votes, so they actually enact all of them. There's an EVE Online style model which has a council elected by the player base, which once a year they come to CCP Studio in Iceland, unfortunately named Studio if you're familiar with China and Menin.
Yeah.
They then go there and they can look into every single process that's going on. They get a full under the covers look. They can't tell that to the necessary audience that they're representing, but they can say, okay, you elected us to say we think they're going down the right path, we don't think they're going down the right path. That is not a final decision like it's treated in the RuneScape world. And then you have Warframe, which just takes, they go, you've been a player for a long time, you spent a lot of money, we know that you're cool, all of you guys are on the council, we'll listen to your opinion, but again, it's not final. So each of those takes a different kind of approach. Personally, I like the EVE Online model for having a council of curated members elected by a community. But I do think mixing that with something akin to the RuneScape side of this, where it's like, okay, we have ideas, but like as a community, you should vote on them to some degree, but it shouldn't be a 50-50. Like if there is a contention in the decision, it is not a good enough decision to be made to implement and spend, hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars on. If there is no contention, it's like 75% plus, great, fantastic. The whole cohort agrees, or nearly the whole cohort. And that's why you've seen, these games either maintain a consistent popularity, or since Ultra RuneScape was released in like 2013, all it's done is gain players because of these approaches. So I don't think we have to reinvent a wheel. We just have to apply this wheel to a legal structure that exists in the Web3 space.
What you basically describe now are different ways of handling a DAO with a foundation as well.
Yeah, like you're basically a DAO, like it's a decentralized autonomous organization. It needs a council. That council could be defined as anything. It could be people holding a token. It could be people elected by people holding a token. And the authority of that DAO also depends on the way you structure it. Like its word could be final and gospel. Some of its word could be final and gospel on certain decisions and not on others. And some of it could mean absolutely nothing, and it's all suggestive to a separate company that may or may not implement those decisions. So that's all the different ways. Personally, I'm a huge fan of a very trivial and simple quality of life decisions being made actually by, for example, if we're talking about games, a gaming company, because people think they know what they want, but they actually usually don't when it comes to this space. And then a lot of the larger vision and scope decisions being made by the community, which may sound reverse to a lot of people, but like they're telling you what they holistically want to play. But like I wouldn't let the average user decide what mechanics will be best.
Right. They'll just buff their favorite gun, which isn't good for the ecosystem.
Exactly. The incentives aren't aligned, but the incentives are aligned if they're telling us, hey, this is our interpretation of the product you've made. Then that gives game designers a chance to go back and go, oh, okay, so this is how you're thinking about it, and that's the path you want it to take, as opposed to doing exactly what you're saying and saying, hey, maybe the fire rate's too low on this thing and I can't kill people fast enough. Like that intrinsically changes the experience as opposed to changing your interpretation of the experience.
Yeah, and just tying back to what we talked about earlier, I think a key aspect to all this as well to make sure that people are aware if they're part of the DAO or helping govern the success of the product is to take the baby steps that Francis described before as well, because if you just drop a huge complex system on people, they will not be aware of all the intricacies that are going on. But if you keep spoon feeding them and incrementally adjust them so they can adapt to the complexities that are in there, they're more likely to understand also what is good versus bad for the collective and the overall product versus the individual.
Right. I'd love to keep talking about this for another hour, but unfortunately, we are getting to the end of our time. It's been really interesting. I think we had quite a journey. Thank you guys both for coming. Before we wrap, if anyone wants to get a hold of either one of you or wants to learn more about Mure or Shrapnel, where can they do that?
So for Shrapnel, it is just, play Shrapnel on Twitter. We actually respond to every DM, which I think some people don't know. So if you message us, we will reply, no matter what you say, within reason. But then for myself personally, it's, at Francis Brankin on Telegram or TAMESYRH on Twitter is the best ways to contact me.
For Mure, you can always email us hello@mure.app. You can go to the website as well, mure.app. We are also Mure app at Twitter. So if you ever want to reach out on Twitter, that Twitter is still very small, but we'll definitely respond to your DMs. Don't worry. And if you want to reach me on Telegram or Discord or Twitter or whatever, I am Felix Norden basically everywhere. I think I am Felix TR Norden because somebody stole my handle on Twitter in 2011 and it's been inactive since. And just email us, contact us, ping us.
Awesome. Felix, Francis, thank you guys so much. I think this was an important episode for anyone building in Web3 gaming. These are a couple of those important topics where we often don't know what we don't know, but can absolutely be the deciding factors between success and failure in a Web3 business if you don't do your proper diligence and have the proper partners. So thanks so much, everyone, for checking out the episode today. As always, it was brought to you by our team here at Upptic. Here at Upptic, we do all things to help games grow, games of all sizes and technologies. If you're building cool stuff, come talk to us. We can help with user acquisition, with the data science and analytics around that, and with all of the creative developments needed for both growth within the Web3 ecosystem and with mass market mainstream game adoption. So if any of that is helpful to you, you can reach us on our website. It's upptic.com, upptic.com.
Talk soon.